Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Happy Thursday. We are so pleased to have you here with us for the next 3 hours. Feels like fall outside this morning, bud. Vibes are high. Jump in at any point, 615-737-1045. That's the number. We'd be happy to have you. The show is jam-packed with people more important than Lucas Panzica and myself for the next 2 days of show. Denico Autry, Tennessee Titans pass rusher, and NFL insider Dianna Russini, both on the show today. Denico's at 11:15, Dianna at 12:20. Tomorrow, who we having on the show for the first time, bud?
Philip Forsberg.
How about that? Hockey, right around the corner. Pred's a part of ESPN's big opening night on ESPN. So Philip Forsberg will join us tomorrow at 11 a.m., you said? 10:45?
Right off the top of hour 2.
Okay, 11 a.m. is where you can hear from Philip Forsberg. And, of course, Coach Mack will be here with us on Friday as well. So fun guests over the next 2 days. And in the meantime, happy to have your participation. Great place to start, though. First day of Titans practice back on the field. Colts week. You know what I just realized, Lucas, that we aired in doing in our preparations for Colts Hate Week?
What's that?
We forgot to text Coach Venturi.
Oh, we did.
That's a failure on my part. I completely spaced on the idea of having Coach Rick Venturi on this week. I've done it every year for the past 7 years. I don't know what happened.
Good thing they play twice.
Okay. Well, we'll get Coach Venturi on the next time the Titans play the Colts. Meanwhile, there was an interesting development of practice yesterday. So left tackle is going to continue to be a talking point until it's not. And whether or not that talking point changes, maybe not the next week, but in the coming weeks, a situation may or may not be developing. Are we making too much out of the idea that Nicholas Petit-Frere, in his first day back at practice, having missed the first 4 games of the season on an amended gambling suspension, shall we say, that his first reps, while practice was open to the media, I don't know what he did when they closed practice for the remaining, let's call it an hour and 15 that they were out on the field. But while media was out there, old MPF repping at left tackle. Big deal, little deal, no deal.
It's a deal.
It's a deal?
Have you ever seen, it doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but have you, with your own 2 eyes, ever seen Nicholas Petit-Frere take any snaps on the left side of the offensive line in a Titans uniform?
Sure haven't.
Then yes, it is a deal.
Little deal. Little deal. Andre Dillard, you are officially on notice, my friend. Now, that comes at a very convenient time because not only is NPF and in progress to returning, I am of the belief that Andre Dillard will probably start this game at left tackle. I would think that given the amount of time that NPF has not just not been playing, but away from the team, that it would probably take him more than a few days before you want to drop him in there on the left side against a divisional opponent. But beyond Indianapolis, I don't know that they wouldn't be willing to make a change. Because as you'll hear from Greg Cosell in just about 15 minutes from now, some really good analysis on the left tackle situation for the Titans that we did yesterday on the install. NPF has the traits, or at least had the traits, coming out of college, to be a functioning left tackle in professional football. And the Titans needed him more on the right side because Dylan Radins can't really play. Now, that's going to sound like a knock on Dylan Radins, and what I want to say here is this, because inevitably Radins is the odd man out in whatever the next iteration of offensive line looks like, right? We can all agree that Radins is the person most likely to find themselves on the bench first. And I do think that Dylan Radins should be commended for coming in on short notice, off the ACL tear. I don't know that he was good, but he was good enough to win football games, and that is what matters to them, and it should matter to you. but he is not one of the best 5 offensive linemen that this team currently has, and it's a below-average offensive line. The returns on Dylan Radunz, while commendable, not overwhelmingly good. There's nothing to indicate there to me that should they make, for example, the Radunz switch to left tackle, that we would not be having similar discussions about your frustrations with Dylan Radunz should that be a change that they make. I don't think that's what's in their plans. I think that NPF is more likely to end up at left tackle than is Dylan Radunz immediately.
As in this season?
This season, for sure.
Who's this team's swing tackle?
Justin Murray.
How many snaps has Justin Murray played this season?
None.
Could Nicholas Petit-Frere be the answer to that question?
I think he's more likely to be the answer to left tackle than he is the answer to swing tackle. Because what the hell was that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
This is a soundproof studio. Are we under attack? That door weighs 7,000 pounds. How the hell could I feel anything through the walls of this place? What just happened there?
Sounded like Santa landing on our roof. It's October.
It's October the 5th. Is there any significance? It's not October the 3rd. When he turned around and asked me what day it was, October the 3rd. You get that reference?
No.
Mean Girls.
Oh, great movie.
I do think, though, that NPF, yes, to answer your question, he is the best solution that they have immediately to swing tackle. So should something happen to Chris Hubbard, he could go in. If something happened to Andre Dillard, he has less time to prepare, but it is not out of the realm of possibility. I don't know if, God forbid, let's say something happened to Andre Dillard this week. I don't know that it wouldn't be, if Skoronski is available, I don't know that it wouldn't be Radunz for this week, just because he's been physically back first. Now, they may weigh the cost-benefit analysis of a Dylan Radunz coming off an injury who's not overwhelmingly known for his power anyway, and has clearly not been displaying that so far through the season. Again, good enough to win. I know it sounds like I'm being overwhelmingly negative about Dylan Radunz. This is not meant as an attack. This is just what the observations have been based on his play. I don't know that they wouldn't drop him in there at left tackle first, just because NPF really just got. I know he's been back in the building for about a week. He's been able to be around the team for a week, but now he can actually practice and stuff like that. I don't know that the immediate solution wouldn't be Radunz first, but I think season long, let's say, that is immediately a position that NPF should take. I like that they're kind of leaving it open competition. Doesn't it feel that way?
At left tackle?
Yeah.
Now, NPF was lined up next to Skoronski, right?
Mm-hmm.
At practice yesterday. Is that more because he is viewed as a starter at left tackle, or is Skoronski kind of working with the twos right now as he works his way back?
That's a fair question. Fair question to bring up. So it only what you see there is the two of them working in a drill. What you don't see is Andre Dillard and who he was doing the drill with, right? Was
Radunz,
Skoronski?
right?
What was he doing it with Radunz?
I'm not sure. I wasn't there.
One would assume Dylan Radunz. Yes, one would assume Dylan Radunz. So I think it's fair to expect that specific clip, I wouldn't make so much of that specific clip as the starting left tackle indicator, other than that those are two players who are in we'll call it the return to play protocol, and that they're working together in a rep because they're both coming back at the same time, and they already have Radunz and Dillard who have spent time working together. Why not continue that in the drill? Like I said, I don't think NPF's going to start for you at left tackle Sunday. That's not what I'm alleging here. All I'm saying is this is a development. It's a little bit of a deal. It bears monitoring because so does Andre Dillard on a week-by-week basis. And what you're going to hear from Greg Cosell coming up next is the idea of exactly why or where Andre Dillard has not lived up to expectations. Because I know a lot of you guys saw his Pro Football Focus pass blocking grade was good.
On Sunday.
Not for the season, but on Sunday, it was good. It ignores, are you accounting the amount of times that Andre Dillard had help in protection situations there? Because while they did hold up better, Dillard individually was not somebody that I came away after going back and having watched him because I saw the grade. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? Maybe I missaw some things. It's sometimes, the perspective of getting to watch it back on TV after I've seen it live at the game in the press box. There are some things that you miss. So, okay, I didn't watch Dillard individually throughout the course of the game. Let me go back and pay attention. And I didn't come away feeling that he had improved substantially at that point. But you'll hear from Greg Cosell on that coming up next. So we'll play for you that clip from the install. We'd be happy to take your phone calls throughout the course of the show. Don't forget that Denico Autry will be here in an hour from now. Dianna Russini of The Athletic in 2 hours from now. Fun show today here on 104.5 The Zone.
"40 years ago, we opened our doors with one mission in mind:
We'll be right back with the top 10 songs of 1983.
to sell quality American-made vehicles at a fair price.
You have arrived.
And we've loved every minute of the ride. Celebrating 40 years of Two Rivers Ford.
So, changes at left tackle, nothing imminent, but situation worth monitoring, as we told you earlier. Titans back on the practice field yesterday. Nicholas Petit-Frere, for the first time in a Titans uniform, taking reps at left tackle. Now, that for a couple of reasons. You'll remember very distinctly, they tried to give Dylan Radins every opportunity to win the right tackle job last year. He couldn't do it. He couldn't find a place to play on what was arguably the league's worst offensive line. And so they very quickly had to throw NPF, the third-round rookie, out there as a starter and moved forward that way. Now, if you'll recall, NPF was not anything special in his rookie season. More concerning even still was that he did not look terribly good as a right tackle in the preseason. Left tackle is the place that I think most people are interested in him for a variety of different reasons. One, Dillard is going to be a talking point all season. Like, that's, as long as he's out there, we're going to talk about him. Fairly or unfairly, Andre Dillard is now, you know his name. Now that you know his name, and now that you know his number, and now that you know you have identified him as a source of your early concerns, it is likely that you will blame him to some extent for everything that happens to you while he's out on the field. Again, rightly or wrongly. It's just the nature of the business. But NPF can solve a couple of things right out of the gate. In the same way that we talk about, what are their prospects, their future prospects at quarterback? Well, it doesn't really matter this season. But what is the plan, in essence? Well, if NPF can turn out to be any kind of, league average left tackle and could save you a situation, he doesn't have to be the long-term solution at left tackle. He doesn't have to be the left tackle the next 10 years. But it's a pretty good tackle draft class as well, not to look too far ahead. It's just the kind of stuff that can potentially change the math a few months before you actually get to decisions like the draft, the scouting process, and things like that. So, worth paying attention to for a couple of reasons. But is it feasible? Can he play left tackle at the NFL level? So we spent a lot of time, Greg Cosell and myself, talking about this yesterday on the podcast that we do each and every week for 104.5 The Zone. It's called The Install. It's also available on 104.5 The Zone's YouTube channel for you guys to watch every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. So Greg and I talked about the way that they beat the Bengals. We talked about the way that they'll try and stop the Colts, but we also did spend a good bit of time on his scouting report of NPF coming out of college and its relevance because, of course, NPF most recently in college was playing left tackle. This was Greg on the podcast yesterday.
Up my evaluation of him coming out in the 2021 draft. I thought that he had size, length, athleticism, and movement to play left tackle. I thought his tape in 2021 showed a developing player with the physical traits necessary to play left tackle. But the tape did show some concerns that had to be addressed. Now, again, I'm not there as his coach, so I don't know how they're addressing those issues. I thought that on 45-degree and vertical pass sets in college, I'm speaking now, he showed a glaring tendency to bend at the waist when he struck with his hands. And that's a problem that needs to be cleaned up because what that does is it results in balance and body control issues, and it led to him getting beat. And it really showed up against two rushers in particular, Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State and Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan. And he had significant problems with both those players. But there were too many good snaps in pass protection where he really looked comfortable and efficient with really good technique and overall movement to believe that he could become a quality left tackle. But he has to, again, I know he played right tackle last year. I think we both agree the year was up and down for him. There were times you and I both felt that, hey, this guy could be a really good right tackle. And there were other times we felt, boy, he's having some issues. So we'll see. But, they may have to give him a shot. Dillard it's 4 games. And, I don't think the results are particularly promising. Again, the tape tells you that.
It's just an honest assessment from Greg, right? He's not there hot taking you. The tape tells you that Andre Dillard has been a consistent problem. So there you are with a discussion about what NPF projected to be at the left tackle position coming out of college. And the unknown here being, well, okay, has he received sufficient coaching now under two different, Mike Sullivan is still there on the offensive line coaching staff. They have a new offensive line coach, Keith Carter last year, now Jason Hoteling, the guy they call Hoss this year. So what has NPF been coached on? How much of that? Now, what he's talking about there is like fundamental mechanical stuff, bending at the waist as he goes to punch with his hands and how that affects balance. That is something that should translate to both the right and left side. That's just a technical situation. How they have addressed that, if they have addressed that adequately, is only something that the coaching staff can answer because, I'm not equipped to evaluate offensive line the way that Greg or an NFL coaching staff might be. Now, ironically enough, assistant coaches will speak to the media today. So I think right before my Blaine and Mickey hit at 1:20 this afternoon, right after my Blaine and Mickey hit this afternoon at 1:20, I'm going to be out on the practice field talking to the coaches, and that's something that I can ask Coach Hoss and put out on social media for you so you can see a little bit of the follow-up from the position coach himself. But it's worth paying attention to, right? Because it's not that he can't do it. He's just not been asked to do it yet at the NFL level. And basically right now, their task is to get him as ready as humanly possible. The question is, where do they need him at more right away?
NPF?
Yes. Where Hubbard and Dillard are healthy. What is the more likely situation? That NPF is asked to go in for Andre Dillard, or that NPF is asked to go in for Chris Hubbard right now? One would imagine that the more likely situation is that Dillard is the one who's going to be removed from the lineup. So that they are anticipating that as well, or at least they're signaling that they're anticipating that as well. Even if it's just one practice, I'm not trying to make something out of nothing. That is a development worth paying attention to. And we'll find out whether, those traits that Greg and NFL scouts will have seen in college can translate to the pros, and if the mechanical situation, the mechanical issues or problems that he has that can impact him or did impact him in college have been corrected enough to date.
They're signaling where they need him more right now.
That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
We said it off the top of the show. Did he play a single snap that we saw on the left side throughout training camp or at any point in his rookie year on the left with the Titans?
No.
And then suddenly, after he's gone for
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Math is hard.
Looking at my watch, like
but
the time was going to tell me.
Although I will tell you, it is the only thing that drives me crazy is that it's week 6 in college football and week 5 in the NFL. I need symmetry in my life. It's confusing to me. Anyway.
Gone, not even in the building, right, for 4 weeks, which I think is hilarious, by the way. Like, I guess I understand you're suspended, you can't practice, but you can't even be in the building?
Well, he's in the building for the last week.
Sure.
But he was not in the building for the previous 3. I don't know.
So is he like literally locked out? Like, I don't know if they have key cards to
take his key card away.
Yeah.
Well, listen, if you've been paying attention to the lawsuit filed against the Arizona Cardinals ownership, burner phones have been deployed in the NFL for suspensions before. With Steve Keim, the general manager, who had what was described as extreme DUI. It was the first time I'd ever heard of extreme DUI. What the hell is extreme DUI?
And just what does that accomplish to not even let him in the building for 3 weeks?
Shame.
It's like, go home, think about what you did.
Timeout.
Yeah.
Go sit in a corner.
Literally adult timeout. He said he went to Tampa for 3 weeks.
This is a vacation.
He was working out in Tampa to come back. I just don't understand why you can't at least be lifting and at least be allowed in the building. Like, okay, you can't practice anyway.
It is a great question. I'm sure if I asked Vrabel in week 5 of the NFL season, hey, Mike, why do they make the players stay away? He'd probably just snort at me and move on with his day. But like, it is a fair question. What do you accomplish other than to, I guess in some form of punitive shame? No, to your corner. Go wear the dunce hat. You can't come into. We're taking your key card for 3 weeks, but you can have it back for the 4th.
Also, we didn't really talk about this, but how rare is this to see from the NFL?
What?
Kind of backtracking like this?
Oh, with the gambling
policy?
With
the whole
we didn't
thing.
talk about it.
Like, it's almost like, oh, hand up. Like, maybe we jumped the gun a little bit on how severe these punishments were. You just don't see this, right?
No, I mean-
unprompted, the NFL says, no, you're good. Not 6 games. You can come back.
You know what immediately comes to mind? The last time that I remember Roger Goodell having to visibly walk anything back is when during COVID, during the George Floyd thing, when Patrick Mahomes and Honey Badger and, pre-shamed Deshaun Watson and all these players got on a video that they didn't tell the league was going to publish about, needing an apology for the Colin Kaepernick situation. And Roger Goodell very quickly, because now, oh my God, the Super Bowl winning quarterback, the best player that we have, the face of the league, is telling me that I need to apologize. Okay, Pat, whatever you want. I'll take a knee right now if you want me to. Just don't take my $45 million a year, please. We'll even put end racism in the end zone. Did they take end racism out of the end zone? Did we pay it? Did the NFL effectively end racism by putting it in the end zone? Did anybody tell me? I haven't seen any reporting on this.
I don't think they took it out. I'm pretty sure I saw it. It struck me. I was like, oh, that's still there.
Oh, good to know that the NFL is continuing the fight against racism by putting it in the back of the end zone. Well done by the NFL. Anyway, I think that is the last time that I've seen the league in any form or fashion walk something back, at least in recent memory. Because more than not, their position has been to double down. How soon do we forget the idea that what was the Super Bowl? Super Bowl this past year was played in Phoenix.
Yep. And
the turf of the field in Arizona on the whatever hybrid grass. Do you remember this being a talking point? I feel like we have completely forgotten. That the playing surface was untenable to some of the players, that the NFL had botched basically the field for its most important game of the year. And because we have short attention spans and because things like Aaron Rodgers on Hard Knocks are very quick to distract us from, just ignore that the playing surface for the biggest game of the year wasn't safe for the players. Like, the NFL is more likely to either brush it under the rug or double down on their position even if they know they're wrong, rather than walk a policy back and say, oh, no, it's okay with the players. Go ahead. Because did you see anything? Did you see any kind of reason, in the statement from the NFL and NFLPA? There was no explanation provided to, at least publicly, as to why they were retracting their initial gambling suspension policy. And not the initial, let me clarify, they did not retract the initial gambling suspension policy. What they have adapted is the clause that sees players suspended for betting on non-NFL events. Now, the team facility clause is still liable for suspension, but the length of suspension for that has been amended, I believe, from 6 to 3 games, which is why NPF has returned in Week 5. And that as they are lightening the punishment, basically, on gambling at team facilities, they are doubling down the punishment by degrees on betting on NFL games by players. So they've ramped it up on the dudes who bet on NFL games, the guys who got suspended for a year, Calvin Ridley and things like that, and reeled back a little bit of the gambling policy on the non-NFL events.
If you had to say right now on Thursday at 10:33 a.m. before the Colts game, yes or no, does NPF get any snaps on offense on Sunday, what would you say? What is more likely? Considering that in most games,
that he does or doesn't get snaps?
Yeah. And in most games, all 5 offensive linemen have played 100% of the snaps, right? You had Xavier Newman got taken out for Dylan Radin, so there's been some shuffling. But against Cincinnati, the 5 starters played 100% of the snaps on offense. So with that in mind, what would you say is more likely, that he does or doesn't get a single snap on offense in Indianapolis less than a week after being reinstated?
I think it's more likely that he does not get a snap. Now, of course, the variable in this is if something happens to Dillard or Hubbard, then of course he's going to play.
I'm talking about everyone's healthy.
If everybody's healthy, all things being equal, Colts have a good defense, but it's not like they're not playing Myles Garrett this week. So I think this is a survivable outing by the Tennessee Titans offensive line group, provided that Skoronski plays. Now, I don't think Skoronski is going to be the end-all, be-all, like they can get gotten other ways, but I do think Skoronski makes a difference if he's 80% of himself. I will say, though, that I think the biggest reason why they might leave Dillard alone for the week, besides just NPF having just returned, like if I had to provide you with a second reason why it wouldn't make sense to drop him in there right now, I would say that you don't want to disrupt two players or two positions on the offensive line in the same week if you can help it. Because now you're talking about taking Radens out, and like I said, Radens hasn't been good, but he's been good enough, and they have at least practiced together. They have played together. Radens and Dillard have a sense for each other. Dillard and Skoronski have not played an overwhelmingly amount, a ton of football together, but there at least is the working knowledge of they spent all training camp working alongside with one another. Let's not disrupt two things out of the gate as we reinsert another player back into the lineup. I think for the sake of they're looking for minimal disruptions across the board.
And Skoronski was a full participant yesterday, for what it's worth.
Skoronski was a full participant for the first time in several weeks. So I think that that is the reason why it is more likely that NPF plays 0 snaps against the Colts than he plays a snap. Nothing's guaranteed, but I would say that there are two pretty compelling reasons to not try and jam him in there right away. Agent S. says, so both Radens and NPF are swing tackles. Radens is utility. Radens is whatever. NPF is the swing tackle. The one that's more out there in limbo than either of them is Jalen Duncan.
Yeah, as a rookie.
Yeah.
Like there's not expectations of Jalen Duncan to contribute right now, right?
I mean, like if he has to play, I assume Justin Murray's presence is because he wouldn't be necessarily ready to play.
Like, okay, do we consider this a redshirt year for Jalen Duncan,
for sure.
so to speak? Yeah.
For sure. Like, I'm not saying the dude has to contribute. I don't think he even has to be there like 6 offensive linemen and blocking packages and things like that. I'm just saying, like, it is worth paying attention to that Justin Murray's presence and still on the roster while Jalen Duncan exists there as well. You have an overwhelming amount of players who have played tackle, basically. And guys, at least in NPF, Duncan, and Dillard, who cannot play on the inside. You cannot put them at guard. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. We are looking forward to having our next guest very much because the Tennessee Vols are on a bye this week after having gotten a big win at home over South Carolina.
By the way, checkering Neyland for the Texas A&M game.
Oh, is that official?
Danny White has confirmed. Not this Saturday, but the next.
So is there any kind of like checker Neyland? Is that like the Smoky Grays? Is there what are the stigmas associated with checkering Neyland?
Early on, there was a bad stigma associated with it.
Right. I didn't think I was making that up in my head. I was pretty sure the checkering thing it's like the code blue games for the Titans. People fear the code blue games.
Yeah. The first time they checkered Neyland was my freshman year at Tennessee, Florida, 2014. When Tennessee lost 10-9, Jeff Driscoll was the quarterback of the Florida Gators, Houston Texans legend, and Tennessee. It took a minute for Tennessee to win one of those checker Neyland games, but I think that's gone away. Josh Heupel's done a nice job with both checker Neyland, Josh Heupel and the whole athletic department of both checker Neyland and the dark mode of not pulling those out in the biggest games. You know, like Alabama was not the checker Neyland game last year. It wasn't the dark mode game last year. Florida was checker Neyland last year.
They're like, no, nothing. No, don't. Nobody move. Nobody breathe.
You pulled out dark mode against South Carolina, right? A team that you are a better football team than that you should go out and beat. Texas A&M, that's an interesting game, but I do like the concept of not pulling out all those stops for the biggest games of the year where the pressure's already there and letting yourself down if you do lose in that moment, and then everybody associates that with a bad thing. So give me the dark mode in the blowout games. All good with that. Tennessee blew out South Carolina for an 11 a.m. kickoff.
This is a form of BVS.
In Neyland Stadium in 2021 wearing dark mode uniforms.
There's so many symptoms. Speaking of the Tennessee Vols, no BVS when it comes to Carlos Lopez. He's the Vol Network Spanish language broadcaster. He's had some incredible calls already in the early goings. He's going to join us on the other side. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Aquí viene Rattler lanzándolo para la parte izquierda del campo. La pelota en el aire. ¡Y como se la quita la 19! ¡De la 10! ¡Y aquí hay que darle 6 más! ¡6 más! ¡6 más! ¡Que aquí hay otro touchdown! La intersección de 26 yardas para Kamau Helen. Y aquí hay que darle 6 más. ¡Vamos,
That, ladies and gentlemen, is Carlos Lopez, the first person to conduct a Spanish-language-only broadcast of a Tennessee Volunteers game for the Vols Network. He joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. Carlos, that was absolutely electric.
Man, God gets the credit for all of this. I'm just happy that I get to do something now to unite everybody in a world that till today is still trying to separate us. I'm trying to unite not just Vol Nation, but I'm trying to unite us nationwide and worldwide.
So the opportunity for you to do this game and to be the first person in history to broadcast a Vols game in only Spanish, as everybody tries to include more and make the experience that is a Tennessee game day as inclusive as humanly possible. I was reading the backstory on how it was that you got the opportunity. Can you tell the backstory of how the University of Tennessee, how you reached out to the University of Tennessee to try and create what ultimately became that opportunity in the UTSA game?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a professor when I went to Middle Tennessee State. I did grad school there, and I had a professor always talk to me and say, be the best at what matters most. Carlos, everything's already been created, but what is something out there that's already been created that you can make it your own? So last year, that's always been, running through my mind. I've always been searching for something that only I could fulfill. And last year when we were playing Alabama, I was listening to the ESPN and the CBS announcers, and I'm like, man, these guys are just not doing it for me. And then last year in November is when the World Cup was about to start happening. So I was like, you know what, I think that I can do something for this game to just give me a little bit more excitement. So when we were playing Alabama, Princeton fan, I think we're at the 3-yard line or something like that, one of those touchdowns. And I just start filming from my house, from my living room. And I turned on my phone. I said, let me post this on back in the day when that was Twitter. Now it's X. And let me post this and see. And the caption was, if Spanish announcers were announcing NCAA football games. And the next day that I posted that, the attention was incredible. The attention was the people that it was reaching, not just Spanish speakers, but, Spanish speakers everywhere. People are retweeting it and sending me messages. We need more. And I was like, you know what? Let me keep on going. Let me do a couple of more videos. And then I started seeing that I graduated from the University of Tennessee. So my career started as a football player. I started at Carson Newman. After graduated from Seymour High School over here in East Tennessee. Then I went to Carson Newman. I did a grad transfer to Middle Tennessee State. I got to play a little bit in the Arena Football League as a kicker, and then coming back and earning a world language degree at the University of Tennessee. And then I just started seeing that there were so many international students that were coming into the University of Tennessee that were, from my roots. They were Latin American students that were coming here internationally and then getting a degree and then going back to their prospective countries to do whatever it is that they're going to do. So I'm here and I'm sitting in my living room and I'm like, what can I do to embrace this Latin community? What can I do to embrace this Hispanic community? Because the student athletes are not going to school and they're not competing and they're not giving their all to Tennessee just September 15th through October 15th. They're competing year in and year out, and I need to do something to embrace what these students are doing. And then I just started sending, DMs. I started sending emails, and, because at the end of the day, for me, it's one thing to call a game. It's another to have played it, but to become a United States citizen and give a voice to others that might be going through something similar that I went through and give them a place where they too feel like they belong, that was the motivation for me.
At Carlos on the Go 12 is where you can follow him. You can also check out the video that he ended up setting in sending in if somebody called a Tennessee game in a Spanish language broadcast that ultimately saw him broadcast the first Spanish language broadcast for the Vol Network in history.
So, Carlos, I know what it's like to grow up in a household with parents that aren't from the U.S., that never grew up with American football, never had any affinity for it, and having to kind of discover it for myself. I'm not sure if that was your situation, but I am curious how you fall in love with football to play it and then end up wanting to be on the broadcasting side of it, and specifically with the Vols.
Right. So, let's go back a little bit. We arrived to the United States in 2001. We live in Miami. My mom's like, we got to get out of here because we're not going to learn English. She married my stepfather, a Cuban American, and then we go live in Connecticut, and my mother's like, we can't live up here either. But in 2001, as we're living in Hartford, Connecticut, my mother turns on the TV, and there is this rivalry going on between the Lady Vols, basketball, Pat Summitt, and UConn. And my mother's like, wait a minute, what is this Lady Vol going on? I love this woman. I love Pat Summitt. And she started researching around and whatnot, and then she had a friend that lived here in Seymour, Tennessee, and she was like, I need to move to Tennessee because I need to be closer to where this Pat Summitt is.
Actually.
And what we didn't realize, so we started my mother started falling in love with Tennessee all the way back to 2001 when we arrived here to the United States. Little did she know that us moving to Seymour, Tennessee, we were going to be 15 minutes away from Neyland Stadium. So, back in the day, we couldn't speak English. We're driving around and we get lost, but my mom sees the gold sun sphere. And then behind the sun sphere is Neyland Stadium. And then all of a sudden she's like, wait a minute, I'm here we live where the University of Tennessee is. And then from that moment on is where our love for the University of Tennessee has started growing. And then playing soccer all my life in Venezuela, coming over here, I guess I had a powerful leg and whatnot. I just posted something yesterday because I get to do something really, really cool now where I get to I started my own series with the University of Tennessee called Vamos Vols with Carlos Lopez, where I get to go now inside UT Athletics. And y'all might remember this show that I used to watch to try to learn English. It's called Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe.
Yes.
And
yes.
Amazing.
So y'all know, I love that show. I still watch it to this day. And Mike Rowe actually goes in and does the jobs of what the people do. So I kind of grabbed that idea and turn it into athletics, where now I get to go inside UT and practice and participate in all the sports that have Spanish speakers in them. And all of our sports inside UTK have a Hispanic background student athlete. And yesterday I posted the first episode they're going to be coming out on YouTube here pretty soon. And it's on, again, it's Carlos on the go is my Twitter handle, and you can see where my YouTube page is and all that. That's going to be coming out soon. But the first week we were with women's tennis, and that goes right there with, I think I sent probably about 500 or 600 emails, including DMs and whatnot. And one of the responses that I get back is from our head women's tennis coach. Her name is Alison Ojeda. And she sends me a reply back, and I'm just like, whoa. So somebody replied back, and she says, hey, I love everything that you're doing. I want to tell you something. I'm actually Mexican-American. And I'm like, wait a minute. Not only do we have student athletes that are Latinos playing for UT, but we also have coaches that are Hispanic background. And now all of a sudden you see this ball moving. She's like, hey, can you send me some stuff that you're doing? And then she starts sharing this stuff inside UT. And then I get an email from an unbelievable woman, Dr. Monica LeBron, one of our deputy ADs inside UT. And guess what? She's Puerto Rican. And she's like, wow, somebody actually tagged me in one of the voiceovers that you did on the videos. And it resonated with me so much because I'm Puerto Rican. We have to work on something. So I know this was from the very beginning, this was so important to the University of Tennessee, all the way from the top, from Denny White, from Donde Plowman. The support has been unreal. And then, Dr. Monica, Alicia Longworth, the head women's soccer coach, Coach Kurt, Coach Alison Ojeda. 2 days ago, we were with women's golf Coach Dianna Cantu, a Mexican American coach as well. And now our episodes are in Spanish to embrace this culture that's inside the University of Tennessee. That way, those student athletes can now have something where they can grab, which is, it could be anything, a picture, anything, but now it's going to be a Spanish interview where they'll be able to grab that YouTube link and send it home. That way, their families, the ones that have made all the sacrifices for them to have a successful future, can see what their sons and daughters are doing here in the United States.
At Carlos on the Go 12. You can hear the passion in his voice. You can see it for yourself on the YouTube series that he is putting out there as well. Carlos, thank you so much for the time. It's an inspirational story, truly, and it was our great pleasure to catch up with you. We look forward to doing it again soon, hopefully, if you've got some time.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. God bless you all.
That is Carlos Lopez, the first person to do a Spanish language broadcast for the Vol Network.
Isn't that amazing?
Awesome.
All comes back to Pat Summitt, man.
Awesome.
Incredible.
All right, I'm a pretty cynical person, okay? You could probably get that from my tone on a day-to-day. I had a smile on my face throughout that entire story just because, I don't know, it's so rare to hear something truly original and inspirational that way, and Carlos Lopez, his story is exactly that, and the outreach that has now begun because of him doing that, just so cool. He said that the CBS and ESPN broadcasters weren't doing it for him. What he meant to say is that every broadcaster that we have, except for Lucas, is at least on network, a little stiff. So let me get a little Latin with my play-by-play broadcast, please.
Milton con la pelota, amagando al corredor, mirando por la parte derecha del campo, la lanza, la pelota en el aire, y dale seis, que aquí hay otro touchdown. Gran Naranja, Quito con la recepción, señoras y señores, Tennessee arriba.
It is 11:03. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Titans were on the practice field Wednesday in preparation for Sunday's AFC South opener at the Indianapolis Colts. Wide receiver Treylon Burks and defensive lineman Tier Tart did not practice with knee injuries. Linebacker Luke Gifford was held out with a hamstring. Wide receiver Kyle Phillips and offensive lineman Peter Skoronski did return to practice as full participants, as did offensive lineman Nicholas Petit-Frere, who makes his return from a gambling suspension. Wednesday night, Nashville Soccer Club fell at home to Orlando City 1-0 the final. Only 3 regular season games remain before the playoffs. Nashville will travel to Philadelphia Union on Saturday night. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour underway. Vibes are high. We're having a great show so far. Many thanks to Carlos Lopez for jumping on with us. A lot of you guys seem to enjoy that interview. We did as well. We've got a couple more interviews to do today. Denico Autry will be here in 10 minutes. We will catch up with the Titans defensive lineman, Dianna Russini, who's been covering Jonathan Taylor's first public comments to the media. She will be on with us at 12:20 today. So speaking of Jonathan Taylor, his first day back at practice yesterday, his first time speaking to the media about 25 minutes ago. At least the press conference started. The latest from Ian Rappaport on what it is that Jonathan Taylor needs to play for the Colts this season. This was courtesy of the NFL Network earlier today.
We may. Now, as you know, Tom, there are a lot of moving parts to this. I think the number one most important thing here is that Jonathan Taylor is healthy. He is healthy. I think he probably would have been healthy maybe about 2 weeks ago. So if there were none of these issues, might have been able to play in the opener, probably would have been able to play week 2 at least. He is now healthy. He is now going to practice. Will he be on the field is going to be determined by a couple things. One, does he just jump right in there in a new offense? How much did he learn in the preseason without really being able to do much of anything, just mental reps? Is he ready mentally as well? I think that's another question. And then, is there something that needs to happen to get him on the field? Is there a contract? Is there a relationship? Is there a hug? Is there something that needs to happen to get Jonathan Taylor
hug.
in what
That'll
was
do
a
it.
really, really tough relationship? A hug. Now, sometimes, look, I have two kids, and you can have a situation that is as rough as possible. You bring them in for a hug, Mike. Sometimes that really does solve it. Now, this might take more than a hug, but I'm just saying hugs work.
Somebody get Jonathan Taylor a hug quickly. A hug. Stat.
Did Denico Autry hug him in the backfield?
We will find out in 9 minutes from now. They weren't teammates. Jonathan Taylor just has been in Indianapolis for only 3 seasons, and Denico Autry has obviously been in Tennessee since Jonathan Taylor was drafted to the Colts. But he has played against Jonathan Taylor plenty with quite a bit of success. So we will talk to the former Colt, now Titan Denico Autry momentarily.
Wait, hold on. Was Denico Autry's first season here in 2020? It was 2021, I thought.
Oh, was Jonathan Taylor a rookie in 2020?
Yeah, so they would have overlapped in the COVID year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A good correction by you.
Second-round pick out of Wisconsin in the 2020 draft.
The defensive signings that had to be made up for by Denico Autry in 2021 were Jadeveon Clowney and Vic Beasley. Thank you for that correction. So we will talk to Denico Autry about his former teammate for a period of time. Meanwhile, Jonathan Taylor says at his press conference earlier today that his main goal has been getting healthy after the ankle surgery that cost him a bunch of time last year. Return to practice, said he feels 100% after missing the first 4 games of the year while on PUP. Now, a lot of positions, probably not a great thing to miss 4 weeks. Running back, not bad. Especially Zach Moss, they've kind of been using a lot. They want to run the football, the Colts do. And so Jonathan Taylor, with a month less of tread on his tires, may not be the worst thing in the world for Indianapolis. He said, he saying that he won't discuss contractual matters, but did field questions about whether he was committed to the Colts after asking for a trade this offseason. This is the quote that he gave. If somebody wasn't committed, they wouldn't be here. I'm here. So, I honestly think he got bad advice in the offseason. I think his agent, like, playing things out publicly on Twitter the way that he did after Jim Irsay. And listen, Jim Irsay didn't handle things well. But, like, as the agent, you got to know you're representing a running back in a contract year, and those dudes don't have leverage, really.
Do you think he felt any pressure from some of the other running backs in the league?
I mean, Saquon's probably worth asking that question.
I mean, they had that big Zoom meeting.
He was not taking the money until he took the money and then said, I got to change my mind about what made the most sense for me and my family right now. So, yeah, I'm sure there is a degree of pressure that infamous now running back Zoom call about their perpetual undervalued nature in the last couple of years in the league. The fact that their pay has been decreasing as opposed to increasing, at least on the franchise tag, on the top average of the salaries that they come up with the franchise tag on.
Even if other running backs aren't saying, like, I'm not alleging that other running backs are telling Jonathan Taylor, don't take it, don't take whatever they give you, but, like, you're going to feel some inherent pressure if those conversations are happening.
Yeah. And
you're in that situation. Like, okay, I guess, is it my turn to make an example here and try and lead the charge? I don't know.
Yeah. It's a question that I would have liked to seen him asked. That didn't appear to be a question that came up. But it is worthwhile. Anyway, we'll pivot from Jonathan Taylor to the guy tasked with stopping him either this Sunday or in future Sundays to come. Denico Autry joins us next. Denico Autry going to join us here in just a little bit. Titans coordinators, Craig Aukerman, special teams, Tim Kelly, offense, Shane Bowen, defense, currently meeting with the media right now. Important day for Kyle Phillips as they try and continue to work him back in on punt return. Guy needs to be stable back there. You have to be able to trust him. Your third wide receiver has to play special teams. Kyle Phillips has the potential to be a difference-making returner. We've yet to see that, but working on the protection, the ball security is going to be something that is critical for him today. So Craig Aukerman speaking about that already early this morning.
He's also said who will be back there if Phillips cannot be on Sunday.
Who has he said? I missed that.
Amani Hooker. So all signs are pointing to Kyle Phillips being on the active roster Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So you won't have a Mason Kinsey.
No, the Mason Kinsey experience. And I guess if something happened to Kinsey, Hooker would have been back there too.
Yeah.
It's just a numbers game. But, to be fair, Amani did it in college, fumbled one last year, and just made everybody go, oh.
He wasn't the only one who fumbled in that game alone. And Robert Woods, didn't he? Didn't Robert Woods drop one? Didn't they muff 3 punts against Buffalo?
That's right. No, was it Buffalo? I don't think it.
It was Buffalo. I remember it. I remember it was Monday Night Football against Buffalo.
Did Woods have one against Buffalo? I want to say the Woods one was a different week. I don't know if they were all three in the same game. I can't remember specifically, but you're right.
It was a saga.
Robert Woods did. I think he recovered it though.
Yeah.
Amani, I'm pretty sure, lost it, or I can't remember. I don't want to speak out of turn. Either way, Denico Autry will join us here in just a second. Now, this is going to be a fun one, I think. Because Trippin' Titans in the F&M Bank chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You can also call the show, 615-737-1045, if you don't live stream it. Trippin' Titans on YouTube. Can't wait for Autry to get us hyped about Colts. Hyped about the Colts. He's not a hype man. We're going to do our best. But, I think it's going to be fun to try and have some fun with him on the radio because he seems to be a very, very serious person. So it's entirely possible, bud. When's the last time we've done a train wreck interview? Have we ever had truly a disastrous interview moment on the radio? Beyond the microphone not working in my first training camp broadcast, the first month I had the radio show with John Robinson, and me just being furious at everybody involved because Kirby wasn't vaccinated. We couldn't take him to training camp that year for everything to work. I don't know that we've had an outright disastrous interview moment, where things have blown up in our face. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be the one, but at least this is one that has the most potential to, just because this man is very serious.
What should we default to?
Do you have high key, low key questions prepared for Denico Autry? What is your game here?
Maybe a couple
the burden is now on you.
This or that type questions. I saw.
Oh, this is not good. You don't sound prepared.
Tennessee football was doing a bunch of content on our boneless wings, which they're not. But that's what we could ask him that.
You're
I'm just spitballing.
The level of preparation that goes into our interview process.
Favorite Taylor Swift song?
It's going to be funny because I think that if you asked him a question like that, like a Taylor Swift question, he might just not say anything back. It might just go, we might think that the line is dropped, but he just might not say anything. He might just be glaring at us physically through the phone, and I'll feel it, and it'll make me want to crawl under the desk here.
JP on the F&M Bank chat says, how long until I can play as Taylor Swift in Madden? You create a player. You can pick which era.
Are they going to say...
Because in NCAA games,
such a great joke by you. You can pick which era.
In NCAA games, you could do the thing with the mascots, right? Where you could be the Florida Gators, and it's just a bunch of Gator mascots. The quarterback, the offensive lineman are all mascot on mascot. Now maybe you could do that with Taylor Swift.
Dylan West on YouTube says, call Denico Grand Ole Autry and see what his reaction is. It's like telling AJ that his nickname was that fans were calling him Dollywood Brown and him being like, what? What do you mean?
Slay texted us, said, sounds like y'all need me for the boom boom room with him.
No. Listen, we are fully capable. We are fully capable of conducting an interview. I'm just saying that it's not a. Yeah, I honestly think Slay would have a harder time with him than we would, because I think this man wants to answer football questions and go about his day and not do the silly bleep. I think Slay. No, that's maybe I'm denigrating Slay's abilities as an interviewer now. Tennessee Backroad says, sound like y'all are panicking. This is honestly, I don't get nervous for interviews. This is as nervous as I've been for an interview that we've done, which is so stupid because he's a very nice man. His answers are very short. So we'll find out together here in a little bit. They, of course, are going to be essential. They've had great success against the Indianapolis Colts as an offensive line. I don't know how chesty Denico's going to be about it, but they do seem to take a lot of joy in punking Quentin Nelson and the Colts offensive line anytime they get the opportunity to. So we'll spend some time on that with him as well. It's a big game. I mean, for obvious reasons. Every game, I could do the coach speak thing and say that every game is a big game in the NFL, but obviously divisional games are the most important. To be able to go on the road in a divisional game and try and have success is something that this team has done particularly well, and certainly Denico Autry, who joins us now on 104.5 The Zone, has been a big part of it. What's happening?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much. So we're just talking about, the implications of this week and all that. And obviously, Denico, you guys have had success against the Colts going back a couple of years, but the audience was so excited to hear that you were coming on the radio show today, because you don't do a lot of these, to be honest with you. And I was kind of surprised that you were up for it.
Right.
So, as a hype man, I was kind of saying, I don't know if because the live stream chat that we have, Denico, was talking about the idea of getting them hyped for Colts week. I was like, I don't know what kind of hype this man brings beyond on the field. That doesn't necessarily seem to be your game.
Right. More of a loaded wagon. I like to stay quiet and stay calm until it's time to unleash.
So, I mean, that's something that you've obviously had a ton of success with. But, I want you to hear this call from Titans Radio, Denico, because I know there's a competition going on in the defensive line room. And I know that you got robbed on Sunday. But I want people to hear the Mike Keith version of what should have been at least a Denico Autry half a sack.
Burrow in the shotgun. Drops. Pocket collapses. Sacked! Jeffrey Simmons, Denico Autry, take Joe Burrow to the mat. Yes!
All right. So I saw you get a sack or half a sack. Mike Keith saw you get half a sack. Why didn't the NFL give you a half a sack?
They reviewed it. Actually gave me half of it.
They got it to you?
Yeah, they gave it to me.
So what happens? Do you get an email? Do you get does somebody send you a text? Be like, hey, just so you know, you're getting this one.
Flowers, maybe?
Are bad.
Nah, they just came and told me. Some of the guys came and told me they ended up giving me half of the sack.
So was Jeff talking smack about leading the way at that point in the competition before you found out you at least got half one back on him?
Yeah, Jeff, he stayed talking junk, so he was talking a good bit.
So for the audience that's not familiar with the competition that you have going on in the D-line room, what can you tell people?
It's just something that we do every game that gets us going. So one of us is going to make plays and try to make plays, and if not, both of us. So we just try to compete against each other, make each other play harder and push each other.
I mean, it does seem like it's an effective strategy. You're all so effective as individuals, and I know the coaching staff does well to try and create one-on-one opportunities for you guys to win, and certainly for you all to take advantage of. But when you're going into a game or into a fight with that group in particular, that's got to inspire additional confidence, one would think.
Oh, yeah, it would, man. Just, A.K., Arden Key and Harold Landry and those guys get going. And, it's just great to have those guys around, man. I just look forward to getting on the field Sunday and doing it again.
Well, so Denico Autry hanging out here with us before he heads out on the practice field on 104.5 The Zone. So obviously the Colts game is something that I'm sure you get talked to about a lot. I know there were articles written last year about it and things of that nature, but it does seem that it's always the level of competition ramped up in a divisional game, of course. But does it mean anything additional to you?
Yeah, it does. It actually put a chip on my shoulder. You know, those guys had the opportunity to keep me around, and they didn't. So, you know, I just want to, you know, make them guys feel that every time I go up there or play against those guys.
And so when that happens, because not a lot of guys, you know, for one reason or another, Denico, go through free agency, and certainly your path through the NFL has been a lot of people have come in as UDFAs and gone through the free agency process and things of that nature. But, like, how surprised were you that they did not try to retain you at the time?
You know, it was kind of a shock, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's a business. So, you know, I just kind of took it on the chin and, you know, kept going about my career.
Well, and certainly you've done exactly that here in Tennessee. I guess, how quickly were people reaching out to you and your representation once they figured out that Indy was going to let you go? Because it's not like there's not a track record of you having a tremendous amount of success in the NFL.
Right. You know, a couple of teams reached out, but it wasn't, you know, a lot of teams. You know, I had the opportunity to go to back to the Raiders, but I chose to come here because of the staff and the team that they had put together.
And so the environment here that you've obviously thrived and you guys as a team has thrived on in the last couple of years, like the city of Nashville, the fans in particular, they really enjoy you. And they, you know, it's not, you don't, like I said, you don't do a lot of these radio interviews, and we're grateful that you took some time because we know that you're busy and certainly focused on what you got to do today at practice. But the city really seems to have a lot of love for you without knowing a ton about you. And I know, like you said, you go about your business, you're a silent assassin in that way. But do you feel that from the fans?
Yes, I feel it. You know, I feel it from the fans, and I really appreciate that. And it's just something that gives me juice and, you know, keeps me going.
Well, I mean, certainly you were, because I want to make sure that this was your Twitter account that was out there on social media last year during the Pro Bowl voting and things like that. That's your official Twitter account, yes?
Yes.
And so, Denico, we are willing to help you with this campaign. You more than deserve one of these nods. Now, I don't know how many more radio interviews you want to subject yourself to. I don't know if this is something that you want to be a part of on any kind of a regular basis. But, like, people know you. More people need to know you. I feel like we can help you with this.
Okay, I'm willing.
All right, so what's the exchange? I'm willing. I'm going to negotiate on the air, and then I'm going to let you go to practice afterwards because I know that you got a lot to do today. But, like, once we start to get into Pro Bowl voting season, can we have you back on the radio show and ask you silly questions the way that we would normally do in an interview when we're not so nervous about having somebody very serious on the radio show as an interview subject?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your time as always. Thanks for stopping by, and continued health and success this season.
No problem. Thank you.
This is Denico. That's Denico Autry there with us on 104.5 The Zone. I'm glad they gave him the half sack. We're going to help him get to the Pro Bowl. I think that we're capable of this. The man deserves it. But definitely one who speaks more with his play than with his words. That was he's just very short. That's all it is.
He's already got 4 sacks on the year.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's quite he's averaging a sack per game.
UW says, Buck trying so hard. I hate this for him. I want them to have fun when they come on the radio show, because so often we are very annoying to them, understandably so. So I hope that I did not annoy Denico Autry during that interview. But I really do think, like, there is he's not a big talker. He's not a big social media guy. Like, the dude, understandably, is trying to campaign for the Pro Bowl. He started a Twitter account to do it last year, but he's not so overt, and the Pro Bowl is such an attention grab. But the dude, you cannot take your eyes off him when you are watching him on the field. He is an ungodly force.
It felt like he set the tone in the Bengals game.
Oh, there's no question.
And he said it well. He said, I like to stay quiet and stay calm until it's time to unleash. And it's the first quarter of that game with Denico Autry's getting into it with the Bengals tackle, and there's a slight dust up, and it just set the tone for the rest of the day of them coming after Joe Burrow.
And, it's funny because I hear he's got like he's a real funny guy, which is all him and Harold Landry both have personalities underneath the short and, in Harold's case, curt responses to some of the stuff, because it benefits them none at all to be interesting, especially in the middle of their workday. Like, I just think that dude deserves far more notoriety than he gets. And that's one that I'm willing to campaign on behalf of. Like I'm willing to do a little legwork for Denico Autry. Maybe the awkward interviews with the short responses. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if they help. I don't know if they hurt. But we'll do more of them because I think Denico Autry is already on track to be a Pro Bowl caliber player. Is a Pro Bowl caliber player certainly. I just think more people need to know his name. I don't need to tell Titans fans, so I don't know what else I need to do.
Leads the team in sacks, tied for 4th in the NFL, alongside Max Crosby, Matthew Judon, Micah Parsons, and Dennis Gardeck of the Arizona Cardinals, who I must say I have not heard of until now.
Somebody said have Andre Dillard on next. Well, the problem is with Andre, the last time I talked to him, he talked too much, and he told us all that Myles Garrett sunned him after the game, and I don't think he wants to do that on FM radio.
When did Andre come on? Oh, no, he's never been on the radio.
No,
You're talking about after the game.
I'm just talking the one time that I've had any extended conversations with Andre Dillard. He said entirely too much. I wasn't too honest about that. And then when I tried to talk to him after the Bengals game, when they had played well enough as a group, he ran. He didn't run away from us, but he was not interested in staying in the locker room, even in a moment where, there's the potential to give you flowers, big fella. You guys survived. Maybe he's not interested in that. Square Up says we need Stonehouse. So Stonehouse was an option last week, and I'm glad that we had Sean Murphy-Bunting on because Sean was great. Ryan Stonehouse, there was a funny video. Lucas, I don't know if you have this from yesterday.
Are you talking from yesterday?
That we planned to play yesterday from the tailgate on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you have this. T-Town Brown says, great job, fellas. I thought he was going to come with that Kawhi Leonard energy. He is a little bit like Kawhi Leonard, Denico Autry. Kawhi Leonard is a good comparison, except, Kawhi Leonard used to be a star, and I think Denico Autry currently is a star. More people just need to know that. But anyway, there was a funny clip floating around from the Titans-Bengals tailgate this weekend. Now, the language, I assume, has been bleeped, yes?
Yes, so like man on the street type of thing where somebody's walking around with a camera doing some content with Titans fans at the tailgate.
Well, not just somebody. It's a Cincinnati-based comedian who's wearing I don't know if he's like doing Bengals content or if he's just doing funny stuff because he's in town from Cincinnati for the Bengals game. But he's walking around the tailgate, coming from Cincinnati, and he's doing some man on the street stuff with Titans fans.
You got a Wu-Tang Bengals shirt
What's
on?
up with the Ryan Fitzpatrick jersey?
No, man. Oh.
Stonehouse. Who the hell is that? Is that you? Who is that?
That's our f***ing punter, dip.
That's our effing punter, dip bleep.
The pride.
Is there? He said it with his chest. It's like, what do you mean you don't know who punts for the Tennessee Titans? Don't you know that's the thing as a franchise that we do best? We do defensive tackles and we do punters.
And running backs.
And running backs. That's what we do. That's our effing punter, dip bleep, is one of the funniest lines. My man wasted no time. He rattled that off right away. What do you mean you don't know who Ryan Stonehouse is? The disgust. I can confirm that Stonehouse has, in fact, seen the video.
He showed up to the game on Sunday in a Morgan Cox shirt. Did you see that?
He did. Well, all right. So a little bit of behind the scenes. He came up to me in the locker room to show me the Morgan Cox shirt and to try and pitch me on a marketing deal. He's like, hey, you guys should really get A to Z. You should really get in on the licensing on this. You guys are very brand aware. Like, I don't know. You got, like, respectfully to Morgan, you got other shirts. Like, everybody loves Morgan Cox in the state of Tennessee, understandably. By the way, arguably, like, if you put together a Hall of Fame case for a long snapper,
yep.
Morgan Cox, how many years has he been in the NFL? It's over 15.
He was playing with Ramon at Tennessee in 2007, and he's still doing it. I think 2007 was his last year in college.
Joe Rexroad just texted me and said...
No, he went undrafted in 2010. Excuse me.
Rexroad just texted me and said, I'm getting texts about Denico Autry on your show. Had you never spoken with him before? JFC. Listen, man, he deserves his flowers. I'm not so scared of an interview that we won't try and have Denico Autry on. We won't deny the man the platform just because he's short. Not physically, verbally. That's funny as hell. I thought he did great. I honestly, I heard him visibly laugh. That's more laughs than I've heard from Denico Autry in 3 years.
You are making this man sound like he has no personality whatsoever.
No, he does. That's the problem.
Like, come on, man. Denico Autry is fine. He's a fine. Just because people don't want to be like chipper and outgoing when they have to talk to the media a million times a week does not mean that they don't have some sort of personality.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not doing the Rexroad thing. Rexroad just did what you're accusing me of doing. I'm saying that I didn't know how he was going to do in an interview setting on the radio when typically we do stupid things like high key, low key. Bud, wasn't that your invention this year so we could do Silly Bleep? Yeah. That's right. Did you
believe that was a Robert Walsh joint?
I believe that you weren't there with me when I was drowning in Denico Autry short answers. You weren't there with the music. You're just as scared as I was over here. Terrible job.
Oh, you wanted me to come in and just wreck the interview with the music and ask him about boneless wings?
What do you think would have happened?
We'll find out next time, I guess.
Wait, recurring guest co-host Denico Autry every week. Moving on. Honestly, I enjoyed the interview. I think people would like to get to. I guess my point, Lucas, is he's a great player. Titans fans love him. Maybe it's enough to love him on the field, but I do think that, like, it doesn't hurt him. And I think he's more cognizant of this now. Denico Autry 2 years ago was not agreeing to do a radio interview. That much I can assure you of. So I think that as Titans fans want to get to know their favorite player, like, it's kind of our job to help them do that if possible, because we have access to that. That's the only thing that I'm saying. And I think more people would like to know more about Denico Autry, because I'm certain that you haven't seen him interviewed very often because he's relatively short in his responses. That's all. What are we doing next? Highest paid coaches in college football. There's a list. We're going to talk about it. 615-737-1045. That's how you join the conversation. Dianna Russini going to do so here in just about 45 minutes from now. Lucas, would you mind sending her the Zoom link? Or do you need me to do that as we on-air produce the radio show? You got it? We appreciate you doing that. And we'll catch up with Dianna at 10:45. Simply Isaiah Live says, I saw the 104.5 The Zone van at the MTSU game yesterday. So awesome. Love it. Well, good. Good to see a little Wednesday night college football action. Blue Raiders getting a win, yeah?
3HL was out there broadcasting live.
Oh, they did the show out there?
Yes.
Oh, fun. I've never been to MTSU's campus.
I have been for high school state championship basketball broadcasts, but I have not. MTSU fell, by the way, to Jack State 45-30.
Oh, they were leading by a substantial margin when I saw that game.
They were up 23-7 at the half, and then Jack State had a massive second half.
Oh, what the hell?
They'll take on Louisiana Tech in Murfreesboro on Tuesday. MTSU will. But, yeah, I've not been to a Blue Raider game up there.
I almost went to Kevin Byard's retirement thing, but I think it might have been related to a travel situation. Either way. Nothing against MTSU's campus, just haven't been there yet. Paul in Franklin is next.
I was wondering about the coaching decision in the Bengals game late in the game when the game was pretty well salted away while Tannehill and Derrick Henry remained in the game.
Why they left the players in the game?
No, why, with about 3 minutes to play and the game pretty well over, why he didn't take Tannehill and Henry out.
In terms of what? Just in case of injury? I guess why would they, Paul?
Yeah. Well, because of injury and also to give the other quarterbacks a chance to see a little action.
So let me look at their last drive. I mean, I guess what is Malik going to do in that moment? Hand the ball off?
Yeah, there was some Henry runs to salt it away late, and then they took a knee.
Yeah, I mean the game was over at that point. Did Derek break 100 yards in the game on the final drive? I don't think so.
We'd have to look at the play-by-play.
And by the way, Tajay Spears played almost as many snaps as did Derrick Henry, so it's not like Derek was like gassed after 60 minutes. I guess there wasn't. Had it been, I don't know, 27-3, I don't necessarily know that they would have taken them out at 27-3, even though the game is well out of hand. And for the purpose of experience, Malik has been in a game before, and if it's just to hand it off and take a knee, I don't necessarily think that's so valuable. Now, to prevent injury, I don't necessarily disagree with that. But, Paul, frankly, I thought the more confusing decision was by the Bengals coaching staff to leave Joe Burrow out there. I was screaming not screaming. I was screaming at Kayla. This probably sounded like screaming to Kayla because I'm just sitting there, honestly, annoyed and confused by the fact that Joe Burrow is still in that game when the whole purpose of Joe Burrow being out there was to try and give them an opportunity to win a game. The game was clearly out of hand. All you're going to do is get him hurt at this point. Now, he was in a situation where he felt as good as he did after the game, apparently, according to comments made to reporters yesterday in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow felt as good after a game physically as he has all year long. So maybe he was just trying to see how much longer he could tough it out and whether they could sustain afterwards and all these things.
All of that is good. All of that is good. I need to understand why the Boom Boom Room was taking free shots at today while it was minding its business.
No. It wasn't minding its business. It actively texted into the show. It was, in fact, not minding its business whatsoever.
Hey, what me and Lucas have going on, it doesn't concern you, but
clearly, otherwise I would have been on the text. Were you scared? That's right.
See, it seems to me that Denico really would have loved a normal conversation outside of football, which the Boom Boom Room provides. It pulls you away from your everyday life, and it gets the people to know you. And it seems at the end of your interview, because I just went back and listened, I did my homework. At the end of your interview, you said, "Can we get you back on and ask you some silly questions?" No, what you should have said is, "Can we get you back on and ask you some questions away from football so the people can get to know you, Denico?" That's what the people really want, and that's what the Boom Boom Room provides, Mr. Buck Rising.
Listen, you go ahead. You go ahead. You tell me how it goes. You call. I want a full report back. I challenge you, Slay. Good luck. God bless in the Boom Boom Room. That man is going to do to you in the Boom Boom Room what he does to Quentin Nelson. He's going to cave your head in. He's going to cave your head in with bad questions.
Let me ask you one question, and I'm going to let you continue your show.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Normally, you're asleep at this time. Normally, I'm free to conduct my show in peace.
Wait, so is this
is Ron Slay, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know.
Is this a Boom Boom Room? If he has to ask you one question, so.
Yes. One man on his way into the Boom Boom Room.
Yeah. Buck Rising, you have now entered the Boom Boom Room. The door is locked behind you. All the silly questions that we want to ask may be thrown freely at you, but we just got one. And it's a serious question. If you answer wrong, you will be trapped in the bottom of the cellar with the lost souls. If not, then you will get the door unlocked.
That's where I keep Bert, that cellar. That's exactly where Robert Walsh lives. And for 20,
he's banging on the door.
22 hours of the day. That's where Bert lives. I don't want to spend any more time with Bert than I have to. Go ahead.
Okay. Have you ever listened to the Boom Boom Room and heard anybody walk away and say, "Man, I hate that room, man. Them silly ass questions. We don't want that."
No, I have not.
Boom. Hey, said, Pan, let him out of the Boom Boom Room.
No. That's not what
he wants to stay
in question here. I'm not. This is now my room. I'm taking this room back from you. Okay?
No, we have to let you out.
Well. Looks like you did good in the Boom Boom Room. Hoo-wah.
No. I'm not ready to go yet. I'm not ready to go. I'm not leaving. All right. Nobody questioned.
He's just sitting on the floor crisscross. The door's open.
I'm here. All right. Nobody questioned that the Boom Boom Room. Nobody questioned that the Boom Boom Room is not an enjoyable experience. That is not what is up for debate. What is up for debate is whether you would have any more success with that dead fish than I did.
I guarantee I would.
Okay.
Did you just call Denico Autry a dead fish?
No, I called the interview a dead fish. I called the interview a dead fish.
Man?
The interview.
The disrespect.
The interview.
Oh, my goodness. Don't blame Denico Autry for your inability.
I didn't blame Denico Autry.
Wow.
No, I'm not casting blame anywhere.
But this last hour, you stooped to a different low. I ain't never seen you acting like this.
I'll do it again. I'll go lower. Don't tempt me. I'll go lower.
All right, I'm out of here, man. I'm going to the Soho House. I need lunch.
No, you're going to the shadows is where you're going. Get your ass out of here, Ron. This is Ron Slay on a car phone. Don't tell them where you're going to lunch, Slay. They'll show up. Try to eat your food. Don't get near him when he's eating. It's hilarious. 615-737-1045 is the number, unless you have the bat phone number like Ron Slay does. That's hilarious. I do want to hear him interview Denico. I think that would be the best possible setting for that. I really do think that would be fun.
Yes.
Meanwhile, how to stop Anthony Richardson? Well, Denico Autry is going to factor very, very much into that plan. You'll hear from Mike Vrabel on the Colts quarterback coming up next.
It is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios as the Titans prepare for the AFC South opener at the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. Wide receiver Traylon Burks and defensive lineman Tier Tart did not practice with knee injuries yesterday. Linebacker Luke Gifford was held out of practice with a hamstring. Wide receiver Kyle Phillips and offensive lineman Peter Skoronski did return to practice in full, as did offensive lineman Nicholas Petit-Frere, who makes his return from a gambling suspension. Mike Vrabel met with the media yesterday at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, was asked what he sees in rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson as a ball carrier.
Well, I mean, the same thing that everybody else sees. I mean, he's big, he's fast, he's willing. And he knows where the goal line is. He knows where the first down, what he needs to get to. So it'll be a huge challenge, not only out in the field for those plays that they designed, but also, the closer you get to the goal line.
Tonight, the 0-4 Bears, still in search of that first win of the season, are at the 2-2 Washington Commanders on Thursday Night Football. Kickoff at 7:15. You can hear the Westwood One coverage right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour already. Show has been a lot of fun. Not done yet, though. Got a lot more fun yet to have. Dianna Russini going to be here in just about 19 minutes. Look forward to getting all her insights on the league. The latest on Jonathan Taylor ahead of Titans and Colts coming up this Sunday. If you want to jump in on the line, 615-737-1045 is the number. We'd be happy to have you at any point before 1 o'clock, or, if we miss you at 1 o'clock, Blaine and Mickey right after that. 3HL on after that, where you can get more Boom Boom Room coverage. Certainly. Meanwhile, stopping Anthony Richardson. We talked about how well he has played through the first couple of games, missing some action with a concussion, but almost coming back against the Los Angeles Rams in a big spot at home last week. Anthony Richardson, in this run game, Shane Bowen said that they are preparing to face Jonathan Taylor. Lucas, have you watched much of Zach Moss's usage in their offense? He has been a solid player. Now, Zach Moss, remind me, Utah?
Yeah. Former Buffalo Bill.
The dude runs so hard, and that is what is going to be the primary function of their offense. Think about the Philadelphia Eagles of 2021. Now, I'm not saying that the Colts roster is the Philadelphia Eagles roster. That was a playoff team. That was the best ground game in football that year. But it was the best ground game in football that year because they had Shane Steichen as a coach who understood the strengths and weaknesses of his quarterback at the time, Jalen Hurts, and knew that he had one of the better offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in football. Now, I don't know if the Colts still have one of the better offensive lines in football. That unit is a far cry from the one that I think, what was that? If the Titans offensive line group was regarded as one of the best in like 2018 or 2017, then I think the Colts were like 2019, right when Quentin Nelson started to round into form and they had Costanzo and Ryan Kelly at center. There's still a couple of those pieces there, but doesn't have the same impact. At least it didn't last year.
Yeah, and is Ryan Kelly not still in concussion protocol?
He is. And by the way, Bernard Raymond is in concussion protocol. They're starting left tackle. So Freeland, is it Blake Freeland from BYU? He's at this year's Senior Bowl. I'm blanking on his first name. Either way, he is not equipped to play left tackle at the NFL level just yet. So if you're talking about matchup advantages, pressure on Richardson would be critical. Getting that dude down is a very tough task. Aaron Donald, it's not often I see Aaron Donald struggle with a lot. Struggled to bring down Anthony Richardson. Now he got there, and they were in the backfield. But the strength of that player at 20, is he 21 yet?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if Anthony
remember when his
Richardson
birthday
can
is.
legally buy a drink yet.
He was 20 when he came into the league. So we'll say 2021. Either way. Young player, strong as an ox, stronger than one of the strongest human beings. Maybe not stronger, but as strong as one of the strongest human beings I've ever seen.
In May, he turned 21.
The thing that can be your advantage is how it is that things came to pass against the Rams. How would you describe that Colts game against the Rams for those of you who watched it? If you're thinking about it in your car, if you're driving around, if you're listening to us on podcast after the fact, if you saw the game and not just Red Zone, you know that Anthony Richardson struggled at the start of the game. Slow to get going. Had a fumble and put themselves in a position where they had to try and complete a 23-point comeback in the second half. Now, the Rams survived it in overtime. The thing about Anthony Richardson right now, or at least what we've seen so far on tape, you'll look at his box score, you'll look at his passing stat line, for example, and say, oh, he didn't play very well. And I'm not saying that he's a refined passer yet. He's obviously not. But the explosive ability of that player that can bring you back into a game or into a drive at any given point is the difference between the biggest difference, not just physically or, whatever else you would compare him to Gardner Minshew. He gives them a level of explosiveness that allows them the opportunity to come back almost in 23-point margins of victory or 23-point spreads at that point. The slow start, though, is what kept them from being able to win the game in regulation. You're going to have to fight this guy for 60 minutes. And I know that's the case. I know that sounds like basic analysis. I know that sounds like, of course you're going to have to do that for everybody for an entire football game. But you didn't have to do it against Joe Burrow. The second half of the football game was drastically different than the first. They needed 3 touchdown drives in the second quarter, and then for the second half, all they had to do was play ball control and keep Joe Burrow from advancing any more than he was able to advance, and they did so successfully. Won a close game. This dude is going to keep it close the entire time. Even if you can knock him off kilter early, he's still going to give you those late surges. He's still going to present that threat to you at any given point. So rare is the Sunday in the NFL where you can win comfortably. Titans fans just had one of those. This is not going to be a comfortable game for anybody involved, and Anthony Richardson is obviously the biggest reason why. Mike Vrabel talking about defending Anthony Richardson, particularly on the ground, or rather the importance of discipline when defending Anthony Richardson. This was the head coach yesterday.
Well, man, the same thing that everybody else sees. I mean, he's big, he's fast, he's willing, and he knows where the goal line is. He knows where the first down, what he needs to get to. So it'll be a huge challenge, not only out in the field for those plays that they designed, but also, the closer you get to the goal line.
When you have a guy like that that's so capable of running, how much does that affect the defense as far as in red zone? Because they're pretty good at that.
Well, I mean, it just makes you to defend everybody, If it's a run action, you have to. A running back, somebody's got responsibility for the quarterback. Somebody's got a responsibility for the 2 receivers, the relief, throws that they can make off of it. It's what you have to defend.
Is it a good thing after, Richardson's already played 3 or 4 games? I think he missed 1, but a good thing to see him now that there's a little bit of film out of him on him since you've never played against him before?
Well, I mean, it's always good to see, have some tape. I'm sure they'll have some new designs and some things off of some different plays. It's kind of what they do, being able to build and design off stuff that they do. Certainly been able to score and take advantage of the turnovers that they've had and been really good in the red zone. Well, I think discipline, communication, understanding the call and changing things up on them, based on zone or man, and making sure that, sometimes it's not designed either. It's third down or first or second drop back. And, there's not rush discipline, and he's able to pull it down and gain yards and make first downs.
So that's Mike Vrabel talking about the discipline required in playing a player like Anthony Richardson. Now, quarterbacks have mobility. Did they play against Cam Newton with Vrabel as the coach? I don't like Carolina, like real Carolina Cam. I don't think so. I think that had to have been pre-Vrabel.
Because the game where Cam Newton was dabbing in the end zone, remember that?
That was a malarkey game.
Yeah, I don't think that was the Vrabel era. So, no, I don't think so.
Cam's not a great comparison for Richardson, but size, mobility, arm talent. I'm not saying that Cam or that Richardson is the next Cam. Cam was one of the most electrifying college football players any of us have ever seen, right up there with Tim Tebow, and I would argue more dynamic. I mean, not a hard argument to make. Far more dynamic than Tim Tebow. And Anthony Richardson, while good, like did not will his team, an Auburn team that had no business winning a championship that year. Cam Newton essentially willed that team to a national championship. That's not quite what we see from Anthony Richardson or didn't in college. Such a small sample size, though. How many career snaps did he play in college? Like 400 or less, right?
13 games.
And but appeared in what? Probably closer to 16?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Less than an entire NFL season.
I am so curious, as we all are, I mean, the league is, to see how much better this dude can be. There are elements of his game that are already incredibly threatening. And it may sound like I'm drooling over him a little bit, kind of because I am. I want to see if this is a coaching staff capable of getting the best version of a quarterback prospect to come to fruition, a developmental quarterback prospect. I was listening to an interview RG3 did lately, or did recently. He's got a new podcast he's out there promoting, and I saw him do a couple interviews recently. He's asked a question about, like, quarterbacks that pan out. RG3 was a quarterback who looked like was going to be incredible. He was the rookie of the year. And physicality of the sport, his physical, I don't want to call them physical limitations, but his, let's call it size limitations, ended up ending his career prematurely or very much derailing what could have been a really, really promising career. If RG3 lands with Andy Reid, does that change entirely the trajectory of Robert Griffin III's career? Probably, because how many NFL head coaches do you trust to develop quarterbacks the right way? It's a great question. So much of this boils down to geography, and you can do this with a variety of different positions. But quarterback more than any, the best players in college football end up going to the worst teams. Indianapolis, I think, is going to be, or at least as an objective football fan, I would like to see Anthony Richardson succeed, and I would like to see a coaching staff do well around him. I understand why Titans fans, not objectively being football fans, or fans of good quarterback play or fun players in the league, would look at that and say, what are you talking about? I hope he comes crashing down to earth. I understand why you have that position. David in Smyrna is next. Hey, David.
What are you talking about? Do you even know what you're talking about when you say an undeserving team is Auburn? Look at the schedule that year, who they beat. And when they were, how they were ranked when they beat them.
Well, nobody said undeserving.
And the number of players on that team.
David, nobody said undeserving.
Let the man talk.
Well, I just said
let the man talk.
I want to correct him just so he can rip me properly. I didn't say undeserving.
Yeah, you did.
Well, I said they had no business being there without Cam Newton.
Well, what's the difference?
Yeah, he's got a point there.
Yeah,
they got Cam Newton, and they had they beat a top 5 team in LSU. They beat a very very good, not record-wise, Alabama team that year with Greg McElroy. They beat a good Georgia team. I mean, they didn't play the punk schedule that Georgia's playing this year.
Well, I'm not disputing that.
Okay, and if Georgia wins the national championship, are you going to say they're a very undeserving team?
No, I'm going to say they didn't have Cam Newton.
Your remarks are off the wall. You need to just, have your stuff together when you make a remark like that, because you don't know what you're talking about.
Appreciate the call, David.
That's awesome. Great points, David. Great call. Great call. That's awesome.
Do you disagree with my assessment of that Auburn
Let
team?
him cook, says Majin June in the F&M Bank chat. No, you're right. That Auburn team had no business winning a national championship. Cam Newton dragged that team kicking and screaming to the national championship. It was Cam Newton on one side.
Yes.
Nick Fairley dominating on the other. So, yes, Auburn was not the best roster in college football. Not even close that year. But
I wasn't like... What are you saying? That they beat those teams? I'm not saying that they didn't beat those teams. They beat them because Cam Newton is the best college football player I've ever seen.
What happened without Cam Newton that following year? Do you remember?
Didn't Chiswick got fired?
Yeah, they were like 3-9.
Like, they had no business being there.
Yeah, the bottom fell out.
You get your stuff together, David. Can we do a Feinbaum show?
No, I love that from David.
That was so good. It's funny because it's true, and it sent an Auburn caller off the wall. By the way, David, we appreciate your call. Thank you for listening. You are welcome back anytime, especially just to rip me. That was probably one of my favorite calls of the year. But also, we're right. Even if Lucas is picking sides conveniently. Dianna Russini's next. Well, I don't want to interrupt the vibes as we listen to Olivia Rodrigo because Dianna Russini requested this specifically. Did he get the part that you wanted, Dianna? Do I have to stall it out long enough at this point before we hit the drop that you were looking for?
My favorite producer on planet Earth did not give me the right moment there from that song, and I'm crushed right now.
Eat it. And also, he got very, very scared because he didn't find the censored version.
I did not. We dumped it.
So I want to interrupt the vibes. Uh-oh. Why do I hear myself? Rodrigo. What is that? Because Dianna Russini requested this specifically. What's happening, Lucas? Why do I hear myself? The part that you wanted, oh, Dianna? No. Do I have to stall it out long enough at this point before we hit the drop that you were looking for? Where's this coming from? I'm so confused. Dianna, did you hear me too? Oh, my God, now I can't hear Dianna. Lucas is scrambling around back there. What the hell is going on? Unbelievable. We tried to play Olivia Rodrigo. Now Dianna Russini's sound has gone away. I don't know why I was hearing myself instead of Dianna. It's the most oh-no version of the show that we could possibly do. Perhaps we should just do what we... Lucas asked me, do we just want to call Dianna? Yeah, we should probably do that. At this point, our technical proficiency's not ideal, but we'll look forward to having Dianna Russini back on the show here in just a second. Bud, what happened there? Do we have any idea?
I have no clue where that is coming from. Like, no idea where that audio is coming. Is it still there?
Can you pot it up?
No, it's there.
Pot it up. Oh, no version of the show that we could possibly do. What is that? What is this running dialogue? Okay, Lucas is going to call her back. We tried to do something different. It failed spectacularly. This is why we are the show that we are. It still probably went better than the Denico Autry interview. Meanwhile, Jonathan Taylor is obviously a big topic of discussion in the NFL. And with that, we are talking a lot about what his potential to play in this game will be for Sunday. Now, I mentioned earlier that Shane Bowen is going to is expecting to play Jonathan Taylor on Sunday. I don't know how realistic that is. As we look at the viability of Jonathan Taylor within this offense, and I talked about the idea that a running back missing that much time is probably not the worst thing in the world. The question is, how much better can they be with him right out of the gates? And are they going to play him right out of the gates? It would be my gut feeling to get him a few snaps, or that they would try and get him a few snaps of live game action on Sunday if they can. I don't know if he's going to end up being the lead running back for the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. Like when we look at percentage, she's not still on Zoom, Lucas. So let's go ahead and call her back at our earliest convenience, and I will buy you some time in the interim. But the idea that Jonathan Taylor would play but not be the primary running back, I think that's a realistic possibility in the middle of all of this, and that's something that obviously the Titans are going to have to prepare for. It's just another thing that you have to game plan for, and you understand that all of these things are going to strain you. It plays kind of into the strengths of what the Tennessee Titans defense does. I wish that we had strengths as a radio show. We apparently do not, as Dianna Russini, for whatever reason, decides to rejoin this particular dysfunctional program. Hello.
Hi, guys. It's my first time on the show since I left ESPN to join The Athletic, and this is a disaster.
Isn't that what you expect? Like, I annoy you so often to come hang out with us on the radio. Only half the time I feel bad texting you. The other half, it's what we do. But I would think no better way to make your return to the radio show now with theathletic.com. Check out theathletic.com wherever you have access to it, whether it's the online edition, whether it's the app. It's a great outlet with great sports journalists. And recently, the addition of an even greater sports journalist in Dianna Russini. There's no better way for you to return to the radio show than with, catastrophe.
Continue to pile on there. Just keep adding, fluffing me up there because you're right. I'm not really doing a lot of radio at this point because everyone understands this. When you're transitioning to a new job, you're drowning at all times because you're just adjusting and learning all the new things. So I've cut radio out quite a bit because I just really want to lock in. But anytime you guys call, you're my favorite show in the country, so I'm going to do it. So the fact that this thing is off to a mess, let's pick it up, clean it up, and talk a little ball here, because I'm in a horrible mood now.
Listen, I'm the one who's getting ripped by callers before we bring you on here. It's not making it any better on me that you're ripping me too. Guests piling on. You're piling on more than I'm piling on right now. Dianna Russini here with us on 104.5.
I got a lot of fire in me now after Lucas messed up my intro song. By the way, back in the gym, everyone in the world knows how hard it is to get back into that routine. Day 2 today for me. I'm jamming. I'm like, all right, I got a clear morning, and all I got to do is buck show. So let's get to it.
Okay.
Suggesting songs with F-bombs, Diana. I thought Olivia Rodrigo was like a Disney singer.
She just said, let's get to it, and then you started talking to her about Olivia Rodrigo. This woman is clearly signaling to us, shut up, you idiots, and talk to me about football so I can get on with my day.
I thought she was in like Wizards of Waverly Place or something.
I don't even know. All I know is she's a friend of Taylor Swift, and Taylor Swift owns the NFL right now, so there's no way of us avoiding the conversation. So let's just talk about Sunday night when I got to see Taylor Swift in person in the bowels of the MetLife Stadium in the tunnel, which, by the way, I've spent more time in the tunnel of MetLife Stadium than any place on this planet right now, because I was there a few weeks ago running after Aaron Rodgers in the golf cart when he tore his Achilles, standing outside the x-ray room trying to get information about how serious they thought it was, because remember, we didn't know much until afterwards.
Right.
So it kind of worked out great, because the same people I saw on Monday Night Football with Aaron Rodgers, who were giving me a little scoop on where to go, were the same people standing down there when Taylor Swift was walking through. So I kind of stepped in it and got lucky and got a nice shot. And a hello, Buck, a hello from Taylor Swift. I didn't say hi to her. She said hi to me.
One of the funniest texts that I've gotten from anybody this week, there's always a few that make you laugh, but one of the funniest ones that I've gotten this week was from Dianna Russini when she just sent me a text back about the Taylor Swift stuff. I went to Columbia.
I went to a really good journalism school. I studied it. I've lived in 7 cities. You know, I've done I'm a grinder. You know, I'm not that talented. I'm not that good at this, but I will grind you to the bone. I will do everything to get the story. And now I'm chasing Taylor Swift in a tunnel, and this thing is getting more attention and clicks and retweets than anything I've ever talked about in the NFL.
That's right.
Look, you can't be above anything these days, and whatever the people want, you got to give it to them, and everyone seems very thirsty for Taylor Swift. And you know, interestingly, you know, it got back to football after Taylor arrived as a reporter covering the game. So I just did my normal game night kind of routine, watching the game. And then after the game, I have the access to go down on the field and talk to players. And so I've talked to Travis Kelce walking off the field probably 24 times in my life, did the same thing. And I just asked him about a situation in the game and how he felt about it. And I could feel like 50 million cameras on.
Yeah.
And I actually said to him, I'm like, hey, I'll just talk to you later. Like, this is insane. Like, there's no reason for us to have that. Like, I don't care that much about what you have to say right now, because this is outrageously uncomfortable. As somebody that's on camera, like, I was like, this isn't working for me. It's too much. And I also didn't want the Swifties getting all weird, like, who's that girl? Why is he talking to a woman on the field?
Yeah, you don't want the smoke. That's what this
I don't
becomes.
want that. Yeah, they don't know this world. They don't understand that women cover football. They don't know that, like,
oh my God,
you know, I'm a professional. So yeah, I was like, I gotta get out of here now, because I really like my life. I don't want to ruin it.
TheAthletic.com is where you can read all the great journalism that Dianna Russini is doing on, for example, the Broncos releasing Randy Gregory. You can read that at TheAthletic.com on top of the Taylor Swift coverage.
I'm laughing because anyone who's listening right now is like, I'm going to pay to read this woman. Here's the thing. So the way I'm attacking this in the NFL, right? Anyone who wants more information on any story, most people are going to the big insiders, the Costco's, the BJ's, I call them, that being Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, right? Like, they're the gigantic newsbreakers. They're fantastic at what they do. I'm a little bit more boutique-y, right? So at The Athletic, we're trying to find different kind of stories, following the big ones, but trying to get a little bit more layers to each of these stories, not just all transactional all the time. So that's where it's been really fun at The Athletic. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you go check it out.
TheAthletic.com. You can also check out The Athletic's NFL show, where Dianna appears on a regular basis alongside a cast of characters. Great resource for all of your NFL information. Depth is what she is bringing to. They have a lot of writers who do really great jobs on their respective beats or leagues or conferences that they cover, and certainly Dianna is a great addition to that group. So we're happy for our friend in this new venture, and we're certainly happy to have her back on the radio show. Now, you and I talked about, speaking of the bowels of MetLife Stadium, you and I talked about this in the offseason, the idea that I told you, I hope I don't see you at all this season. I hope you have a fantastic season covering Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets and everything that is at least close in proximity to you, and also the biggest story in football this year. We are 4 weeks in. Life is not what we thought it would be for the New York Jets 4 weeks in. And certainly we'll talk about the Titans and the Colts here with you in just a little bit with the Jonathan Taylor stuff. But what has been the trajectory, the roller coaster ride of somebody who is in the business of telling stories for The Athletic, documenting one of the most insane stories in professional sports that I can remember?
You know, I was thinking of that scene in Rocky IV, right in the beginning, when they come running out, I guess it was Drago, and it was like such a scene, right? And you're thinking something bad is gonna happen here. There's nothing good, and obviously he knocks him out and kills him and dies. Terrible. But the way the introductions were on Monday Night Football for the Jets, there were so many fireworks, literally, and excitement. I haven't attended a New York game like that in so long, where you could feel it, the enthusiasm from the crowd, because this has been building up since Aaron Rodgers became a New York Jet. And so 4 plays in, that's all it took, and then he goes down. It was really, you could just feel it in the entire stadium. And then obviously following since, the team has been trying to figure out a way to pick itself up and get back to being presentable, because they have such a good roster. They really do. The New York Jets have one of the best rosters in football. They just needed to figure it out at quarterback. And Zach Wilson took such a big leap against the defending Super Bowl champs on Sunday Night Football that it really has been given Jets fans hope that they could possibly do this again. And now they got the Denver Broncos, who we know have had their own issues and are struggling. And the connection there being, of course, Sean Payton had some words about Nathaniel Hackett, the Jets offensive coordinator, who was formerly the Denver head coach. So there's a little bad blood there. So not that it needed anything else to be added to this, but it should be a really good game to really evaluate where the New York Jets are going to be here, because Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, the GM, I believe they have a lot riding on this season, whether Aaron Rodgers returns or not, which, he's hoping he does. Let's just see how this plays out. Obviously, I think it would take a lot for Aaron to get back, but he really wants to do it. He sounds motivated to try to get back this season, but they got to win. They got to win in order for him to come back. So we will see if the Jets can start a win streak here against a very struggling, specifically defense in Denver.
Dianna Russini here with us on 104.5 The Zone. She does a great feature. Is it every Sunday now, the drive-in?
So Sunday mornings, yeah. It's called the drive-in. So I thought of the idea, actually, when I was going for a walk with my son one morning, just trying to pick the brains of people who have a big game, whether it's a coach, a GM, a player. What is it like for them in the morning? So fortunately, there's been some really great people this season who've helped me out with it, where they'll just answer my call on their drive into the stadium and just give me a little flavor of what they're feeling. What are they looking forward to? What their morning routine was like? And then we get into a little bit of matchup stuff. And you'd be surprised how different people's perspective is on game day compared to, we're hearing coach speak all week long, right? It's the same thing over and over, specifically in your city. I could write a Mike Vrabel press conference right now if you want me to. In fact, I could do an entire impression of it if you really wanted to. If I had more energy today.
Oh, not today. We'll do it. Well,
We'll save that. We'll save that for another time when you guys don't mess up my intro.
you should have seen the way my eyes lit up when you said Mike Vrabel impression. You understand now that I'm going to harass you to come back on and do this at some point.
Well, first of all, it doesn't take a lot of skill, talent to do because it's very simple, and you just say the same thing over and over, and you give no information.
That's
and
right.
It's so boring. You want to stab yourself in the head. So that said, that is an art that he has mastered, and a lot of coaches have mastered. But on game days, a lot of the coaches, like I've spoken to Arthur Smith, Todd Bowles, Shane Steichen I spoke to last weekend, they really have a different kind of perspective on the day, and it's been awesome to hear what their days are like. And so you can check that out on The Athletic on Sunday morning.
Shane Steichen, you mentioned him. That's why I bring it up. Obviously, Titans and Colts this weekend. Formerly the Eagles offensive coordinator, having success so far. It's a division that is eminently winnable, as you well know, familiar with the AFC South over the course of several years at this point. Steichen, how does he, I guess, what did you glean from him about how things are going in Indianapolis and basically the experience that he is having working with Anthony Richardson? Because there are a lot of scrutiny on that dude.
He has a lot of scrutiny, a lot of challenges, and this is his first time doing it. Anytime you talk to anyone around the league that has been coaching for a long time in that head coaching spot, they will always reflect on that first year being so hard. And I think sometimes when you're in it, you don't even realize it. And what he's had to manage and try to figure out a way to put together an offense with such a dynamic, athletic, incredible quarterback that we're seeing, who's unfortunately dealt with some injuries too. So I think he's done a phenomenal job for Indy. I think the Colts are a different team since Shane Steichen has taken over. They certainly are a lot scarier than years past in terms of what they're building on. And a lot of what they're building on and the identity of who they want to be actually reminds me a lot of the Titans when talking to him last Sunday morning on his way into the stadium, of just the belief in each other and the fighting hard and just that work ethic that they're trying to really push in that building. On top of the fact that communication is really a priority was my biggest takeaway in terms of him developing his quarterback. He knows he's young. He's not trying to pepper him with too much stuff. He's not trying to give him too much information. Play the hits, play into the strengths, keep it simple for now, right? And then it can grow. To play in the NFL as a rookie is the hardest position to play just because you just don't know what you don't know at that point. So the fact that they're already having success in figuring this out, I just think it's such a home run for Indy. And now with Jonathan Taylor perhaps returning, I mean, this offense I think is going to be they're going to be moving.
You mentioned Jonathan Taylor. I guess as simple as it can be made, where are we now with this situation? Contractually, holdout, was that all just noise? I personally, Dianna, I said earlier on the radio show, I felt like he got bad advice in the way that this offseason went for him, and now returning to the team. Where do we stand today with him?
I think both sides probably need to take a hit on it, right? I don't think that Jonathan Taylor's side handled it best. I don't think the Colts handled it best. I think everyone is guilty of maybe not performing in the best way. That being said, I do think cooler heads prevail. Time heals a bit. And he's under contract. And he's healthy. And I think that was one of the parts of this that got lost in the attention this contract was getting, was his health, his overall health. He was really trying to get back. And I think there were more question marks than answers in terms of how he was going to feel because of this injury. But once they found out that he was going to be all right and he was good to go and he put in the work, it just seems like this relationship is improving. From the outside in, looking at it, it looks like it's getting better. And the conversations I've even had, it's a different tone. It's a different tone in Indy right now compared to what it was over the summer, even in June. It feels like they're working towards making this work, which I think the more they work towards that, I think the better chances the Colts have of having him play in a game and they're going to be smart, right? They're not going to just roll him out there and give him a full, full reps. They're going to probably just slowly, gradually work his way back, help him work his way back, knowing that injury is still, he's recovered, but they have that in the back of his mind. But also, he's learning a new offense. So he has a lot of challenges himself as a player individually, but so does his team in sort of deciding on how they want to use him. But you have to figure the Tennessee Titans, I'm sure, are preparing as if Jonathan Taylor is going to be in the lineup on Sunday.
At DM Russini is where you can follow her on Twitter. You can read her at theathletic.com for all of her insights and analysis on the National Football League when we're not ruining her appearances with our very unprofessional behavior. It's great to have you back on. You know you can always say no if you're cutting back on radio in your life. You know you can tell me to bleep off every once in a while.
You know what? I have unconditional love for this show, and that's the problem. I need to just cut my ties and just move on from this thing because it is a sinking ship. But either way, I love you guys. Thanks for having me on. I can't wait to get back to Nashville because if I'm back in Nashville, that means the Tennessee Titans are winning, and I want to be there.
That's right. Dianna Russini with us on 104.5 The Zone. Always a pleasure. We're very happy for our friend in her new position there with The Athletic, out there crushing it on a regular basis. 615-737-1045 is the number. Polls and get you over to Blaine and Mickey coming up next. So how would you generously assess the way that the radio show went today? What was that dude's name that used to give us a grade every day for the first 6 months of the show?
Oh, yeah.
That guy disappeared.
Can't remember.
He got tired of grading us on how poorly we had performed. I thought it was fun. We were a train wreck, just generally. But it's always good. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Many thanks to Carlos Lopez, Denico Autry, and Dianna Russini for the mess that we made of their days, respectively, but for them being generous enough to give us their time. Not a lot of time, speaking of which, so polls, please.
The Buck Rising Show's almost done. Yeah. We have come to this portion of the program where we update the poll. Yeah.
Settle down, Beavis.
Go ahead, update them, Buck. Buck.
We're gonna score.
Buck.
Buck doesn't update the polls, dummy. You're stupid.
Yeah. Time for a poll update. Hey, how's it going, man?
You said poll.
Yeah. Lucas Panzica. Yeah, are you threatening me? I am the great Cornpolio.
Hey, Lucas, can you update the poll? Lucas, give us the deets, dog.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on any non-specialty new Ford. By the way, JP in the F&M Bank chat gives us a B+ for the day. So I don't know if JP is taking up that mantle of grading the show every day, but that is now his responsibility.
Oh, we've just, like Dianna Russini, we've given them yet more work, even though they've told us they're entirely too busy for us. So this is what you get for being a part of the radio show. I will say, though, Tyler Dial making the funniest reference probably of the day. Lucas in the studio earlier, like SpongeBob trying to remember his name.
What's the name?
That had to have been great visually.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. What does Jonathan Taylor need to happen or need to be happy in Indy? A new contract, be traded, or a hug from Jim Irsay? 39% say a contract, 36% say a trade, 25% say just a hug.
Hugs are nice. I don't know if I would want a hug from Jim Irsay, though. I imagine that would leave you smelling like cigarette ash.
Who's the most underrated pass rusher in the NFL? Kenneth has a good one. Danielle Hunter of the Minnesota Vikings, double-digit sack season 4 times.
Continually.
Hunter, yeah, he's up there at the top. He's got like 5 sacks on the year through 4 games. Karen says it's Max Crosby. John says Denico Autry.
Danielle Hunter got a big contract, too. Is it just because Minnesota? And
he's one of those $20 million a year defensive linemen, yeah.
Maybe they don't win anything. Were the Vikings in the playoffs last year? Why am I blanking? Who did the Vikings play in the play? They had to have been.
Yeah, the Vikings won a lot of games last year.
Did they? I can't remember who they lost.
I'm pretty
to.
sure they won the division.
That would make sense. Either way, it's bizarre to me that Danielle Hunter does not get more discussion, but he'd been in the league for a long time too.
Who's more of a threat to the Titans with the ball in his hands, Anthony Richardson or Jonathan Taylor? 82% say Richardson.
I think that's recency bias. I think a running back with a month of rest after not taking a beating through the first 4 weeks of the NFL season, I think that's a problem.
That's right. Tyler in the F&M Bank chat reminds us that they lost to the Giants, the Vikings did.
Oh, well, then they deserve to not be talked about. Get out of here.
Yeah, before the Giants got blown out by the Eagles in the postseason. Who is more likely to finish the season as the Titans' starting left tackle? 82% say NPF more likely than Andre Dillard.
Well, it's Dillard's job until it's not, so I think that might be a bit strong. But I do think that it is worth a situation worth monitoring. NPF working at left tackle yesterday. Does he do it again today? Do we talk about it again tomorrow? You'll have to tune in to find out. Meanwhile, primetime tonight, 615 sessions. Going to be a cool 615 sessions at 3:30 today. We're going to do it with Keith Bullock on the A to Z Sports live stream network, so you can catch that live today or after the fact in podcast. Also, Philip Forsberg's on the radio show tomorrow, along with Coach Mack. Hockey season back next week, so we'll look forward to chatting with Phil then. Have a great rest of your afternoon. Blaine and Mickey are next.